We have an incredibly remarkable story. It's a little bit of a departure from breaking down everything that we normally do on this second channel here, but it's a very important story, and it really does link in nice with the rest of the content because it's taking responsibility for what you can, and then things that you can't take responsibility for, things that you think are out of your reach, taking the responsibility of how you respond to those situations, because autoimmune disease is something that not a lot of people, even the experts out there, don't know a whole heck of a lot about. But what can you do for that? Well, you can harness the power of better diet, better rest, better exercise, making yourself peak human condition as best you can, seeing if that helps. And it looks like, hey, whatever this lady was doing, it looks like it was successful. So I wanted to share the story with you guys, okay? The article here is written in first person perspective, so if it sounds like I'm taking credit for any of this, absolutely not. So just keep that in mind if you're just listening to this in the background. How I reversed an autoimmune disease, first part. From crippling illness to complete recovery with a change in thought and changed my life. In 2015, while still in my 30s, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. It was accompanied by muscle wasting, arsenic poisoning, leaky gut, and deficiencies in 15 nutrients. I took a vitamin and mineral supplement every day, yet the nutrition deficiencies were so severe I was borderline from plagiaria and a beriberi. Or beriberi? I'm unfamiliar with both of those. Both of those diseases can lead to death. I'm much more familiar with them now. And both were eradicated in the United States in the mid-1900s. Wow. All right then. My illness didn't happen overnight. It has been brewing my entire life since I was in the womb, but the obvious symptoms began in my early 20s with the GI issues. My mistake. Within 20 minutes of eating, I often looked like I was 5 months pregnant. Ah, yes. Excessive bloating, which seemed to dive in and out. There seemed to be no rhyme or reason. One day, I could eat pizza from my favorite restaurant and feel fine. The next week, I ordered the same pizza from the restaurant, and I became bloated and crippled over from the pain. That's very, very weird, I initially thought, or sought help from a Western medical doctor who diagnosed me with irritable bowel syndrome. That's what it sounds like just having an adverse risk or an adverse effect to dairy, and that would be the first diagnosis logically you would make, and prescribed Tagamet. I was only 20 years old, and I wasn't willing to become dependent on a prescription drug. I wish more people would take up this mindset, okay? You get diagnosed with something, okay? It doesn't matter if it's a physical, mental, physiological, some sort of pain, some sort of trauma in your body, and then they tell you, oh yeah, just take this pill. It's like, for how long? Just continue to take the pill, and then we'll reassess your prescription. Why would you want to be tied to a prescription for the rest of your life? That just never sits well with me, not at all. So I love this mindset, especially since I knew it wouldn't address the root cause, it would only mask the symptoms. Yeah, exactly. It's like if your dog has a mess on the rug and then you just drop some newspaper over top of it. It's like, yeah, it cleans up the mess, it takes it out of mind, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to do something with that carpet. Consequently, I got a second opinion, third, and a fourth. Eventually, I saw so many doctors and had so many tests conducted that I lost count. I had 3 colonoscopies. Oh, must be a fun time. Warm hands, I guess. 2 sigmoidoscopies, breath tests, charcoal crest, and tastes decent, and it does a great job of whitening. Urine tests, try to stay professional. Fecal tests, oof. Couldn't you have just done that with a colonoscopy and kill 2 birds with 1 stone? Blood tests, and even an exploratory surgery. None had any answers. Meanwhile, my symptoms continued to increase in both number and severity, to include nausea, brain fog, chronic fatigue, chronic sinus infections, susceptibility to and delayed recovery from colds and influenza, kidney stones, tumor, hair loss, multiple food sensitivities, and 5 miscarriages. Oh Lord. Sounds like running down the side effect lists of one of those high blood pressure medications from way back in the day when they used to run those commercials. In total, I sought advice from Western doctors for 20 years. Nobody knew what was wrong, and I knew that it was were related to diet, but medical doctors didn't believe me. In fact, a last specialist told me that the symptoms were in my head. Like I must be real close to retirement if he was just going to tell you, it's just all made up, you're just silly. That's when I knew I had any chance of healing. I had to find a different path. Consequently, my husband and I became co-detectives. Oh man, he had to live with that? That sucks. After scouring the scientific literature, I theorized I had leaky gut. Yes, this has been coming around a whole lot more, and it's something that I'd love to talk about more in the future, but hopefully you get a nice overview of this relatively recent phenomenon. Not something that hasn't been happening for a long time. It's just something that has been brought up in the zeitgeist of what diet can do to help remedy certain situations that arise within your body, which was triggered by gluten and man-made chemicals such as GMOs, pesticides, and herbicides. Consequently, I switched to an all-organic, gluten-free diet. It seems to be the going theme when it comes to addressing a leaky gut. Additionally, in an attempt to heal gastrointestinal damage caused by those chemicals, I tried many dietary protocols, including gut and psychology syndrome, gasp, interesting, I don't know what that is, paleo, and the Candida diet, Chris Candido diet, where after you have every meal, you take a top rope powerbomb. With each dietary protocol, I initially felt better, but shortly after, I felt worse. In fact, I continued to grow sicker, my food sensitivities increased. Eventually, the list of foods I could eat dwindled down to half a sheet of paper. Foods we think of as healthy, like apples and bananas, made me sick. Very interesting. At the point of my healing journey, I was cooking everything from scratch. That's fine. Eating everything organic, and I never went out to eat. Sweet, probably saved a lot of money that way, especially if you can only eat off of like a half page of foods. The food budget must have been down to like the single digits per day. One little unintended benefit, I suppose. Regardless, a new symptom appeared. Oh no. Did you cook everything thoroughly? Low-grade muscle pain. It migrated throughout my body with no obvious rhyme or reason, and was accompanied by extreme fatigue. Shortly after, I reached a tipping point. In 2015, my entire family got the flu. They recovered within 2 days, and I ended up in the emergency room. I quickly spiraled downhill from there. Oh my lord, this... Either she doesn't have a very high pain tolerance, or this is fairly severe. Some days my body hurt so badly I couldn't wrap my hand around a cup to take a drink of water. When I chewed food, my teeth felt like they might fall out. Additionally, I began the process of muscle wasting. Like a cancer patient can experience. I lost 15 pounds a month even though I was almost constantly eating. What hellish symptoms. For the first time in almost 20 years, I was scared. No kidding. My husband and I knew that if it didn't do something drastic, I wouldn't be alive to see my kids grow up and graduate from high school or get married. Or maybe, you're going to have to get to the bottom of this in case it manifests with any of your children, because that tends to be how this kind of stuff perpetuates. So, I surrendered to God, and He showed me a different path, trying to address that leaky gut that you figured you might have. Today, nearly 6 years later, I'm disease-free and have no pain. In fact, 11 months ago, at the age of 45, I gave birth to a healthy 9-pound baby girl. Need the receipts on that one, because 45, questions. Anyways, I took full responsibility for my health. I created empowerment. I realized I got myself sick with my choices, and I could also heal myself with my choices. A great mindset. I also listened to hundreds of hours of cutting-edge health summits that were published in the boundaries of our understanding our disease. Eventually, I saw new patterns in practitioners who were successful in helping their patients achieve remission using many of the same basic steps. And this is basically using the principles of getting rid of bad habits in your life. It's just specifically applied to diet. So this bears repeating in case you didn't watch the other video from a few days ago. Remove. You must remove a physical trigger that creates imbalances in your body. There are many possible physical triggers, and everyone has their unique set. For instance, I removed the most common food triggers from my diet, including grains, dairy, and sugar. I was also sensitive to chicken and bay leaf. Oh man, chicken? That stinks. In addition, I addressed environmental triggers that were making me sick, such as man-made electromagnetic fields and toxic chemicals lurking in personal care products and cleaning supplies. I also rid my body of excess heavy metals. I couldn't do that. I listened to way too much Motorhead and Priest. Replenish. You must replenish any micronutrient imbalances, as well as imbalances in your microbiome. Building a robust microbiome is essential for complete healing. I built my microbiome using many different strategies, such as not eating sterilized foods. Yes, most foods in the grocery store, in some manner. Via pesticides, herbicides, or whatever other man-made chemicals, obviously. And eating a daily helping of fermented foods with prebiotics and spices. Yes, fermented foods. Yesterday we talked about vitamin K2. So there you go, a little bit more benefit, even though fermented foods kind of stink to eat and actually physically stink as well. But if you need to acquire prebiotics and get some vitamin K2 out there at the same time, it knocks both off of the list. And then as for prebiotics, artichokes, asparagus, Brussels sprouts, you can get it through that as well. That's different than probiotics. Probiotics you get with your, much more common to see them infused in the likes of Greek yogurt and different bacterial cultures you'll find in different high quality dairy products, or you can also supplement with a probiotic. But there are very different prebiotics and probiotics, but both very necessary. Topic to cover with another video, of course. Repair. You must repair any damage that exists in the gastrointestinal tract and other tissues. Fortunately, repair occurs naturally when you create a healing environment. Remove the stuff that creates the problem or further exacerbates it, and your body will take care of itself when it's in an environment which will be more conducive to healing. It's pretty amazing what your body can do. Restore. You must restore your physicality by incorporating movement into your daily routine. That's why we like to talk about diet and exercise, because they are inexorably linked. There is no one without the other. You can't outwork a bad diet, and you can't work without having a diet. In addition, when chronically sick, it was common to lose trust in your body. However, it's critical to restore that relationship, so you begin listening to your body and working with it, as opposed to working against it. That is not the end of the story, and hey, I would love to see the rest of this stuff, because I want to see how it pays off, definitely. Because a lot of traditional doctors will just tell you, they'll just rattle a pill bottle, throw it across the counter and tell you just take 2 of those, and we'll reassess in a couple of months and we'll see what's going on then. There's so much you can do by just taking out refined over processed ingredients in your diet. If you just take a look at your standard nutrition label and you see that there is an entire list about as wide as my hand on the side of just a basic box or a basic bag, you're probably not doing it right. Okay, it should be just a nice fast and loose rule out there. A half dozen ingredients, any more than that, and if you can't pronounce anything that's on that nutrition label, don't put it in your body. Okay, and your plate should look colorful. Okay, it shouldn't look that color. Okay, how else are you going to get your nutrients? How else are you going to get your proper vitamins and minerals? Because you can address your macros until you're blue in the face, making sure that you get enough carbohydrates, get enough fats, get enough protein in your diet. But if you hit all of those, but they don't have any of the micronutrients that go along with it, you're just going to end up running severe deficiencies, just like this lady right here, just like Dr. Cinna McCullough. If you're interested more of this diet talk and seeing how you can help out with an autoimmune disease that you think that you might have, and you want to give something new a try, even if it's just for seeking different health benefits, there's a plethora of guides out there from very accredited, very credible individuals. Again, we're just going over a nice little story here that has a very happy ending, because you know that you are in control of a lot more than maybe what you thought you could, if you just take the proper steps in order to make sure that your body functions as intended, not living with the failings of the past and carrying that forward into the future. It can go from as basic as just cutting out refined carbohydrates and sugar from your diet, say a quasi-paleo diet, to all the way to an exclusively carnivore diet where you eat nothing but meat and salt, like Michaela and Jordan Peterson. Okay, I've been fascinated with that diet for a while, and perhaps it's something that I would like to try in the future. Just have not taken on the challenge. Seems like fun, okay? Because it took a long time to shift the idea of food being a source of fuel from being a source of comfort and reward. That was one of those changes that takes a minute to really wrap your head around. And once you do, it's pretty powerful. So yeah, a nice little story to just let you guys know of the power of diet. And I think it works nice with the rest of the content that's on the channel. Something a little bit different than looking at a specific idea, but at the overall, it just goes to show that once you put everything together, at least you start to try to put things together, you can accomplish many great things. I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.